Oh, my God. So next up, podcast listeners, we have Go Woke or Go Broke. We've got a good one for you. So get this. Superman is bisexual. Yes. Marvel Comics, which has had Superman in newspapers and comic magazines for many, many, many decades, of course. And then Superman came to TV when TV was started with a comic program as well, right? A whatever you call it, cartoon or comic type program. And then to the motion picture, of course, with real people. And you had Christopher Reeves, you had all kinds of people be Superman. You know, obviously the idea of Superman is being this gentleman who is really well built. He's very masculine and he represents all that is good about America. So not only is the movie itself going to feature Superman as being bisexual, but in the Superman's son in the comic Superman. So on TV, you have a comic of Superman, comes out as bisexual in a new comic as well, I believe. It's his son that does that. So there's also the movie, and then you also have the son. And so, gentlemen, I think this is a new era in America because I think we should discuss it no matter what. Go ahead. What do you think, Brian?
I'm not going to assume too much, but I think Jimmy Olsen probably was too early. I think Jimmy Olsen always had a thing for Superman. And to be honest with you, I don't know. It's not shocking to me. They walk around in leather boots that are shiny and tights, and maybe he's always been bisexual. We just weren't woke enough to know it. And what little kid at 8 to 10 years old really cares who Superman is hooking up with? They want to know, is Superman a superhero? All of a sudden, he went from stronger than a locomotive and leaping tall buildings to leaping from woman to man.
Because the difference, Brian, is, and I know that we're on the same side on this, but the difference is that Superman, up until just recently, like, yesterday, was a guy who had this clean romance with Lois Lane.
I feel bad for Lois.
You didn't have the sexualization of Superman, but you had the chemistry that was there, but not the sexualization. And of course, the left has to sexualize what otherwise isn't a program about that.
Well, it goes back to what we were just talking about.
You feel sorry for Lois as well? Is that what you're going to say?
They want to control the culture. They want kids to think this is normal and you should expect this.
Lois has been angry lately, apparently. Yeah. So,
well, maybe it wasn't so much the Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Well, it does bring new meaning to the Man of Steel, that's for sure. What I'm curious about is what happens when you have Superman become, this person, if you will. And what will his pronoun be? I mean, for example, what if he's at trans? It's like, look, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's they.
It's they.
It's there, it's them.
Well, my question is, it's
super they.
How does that?
Super they, is that a pronoun? So if Superman is now gay, is Clark Kent gay?
Right.
That might be his alter ego. That's his alter ego.
Well, it's not
right?
Clark, it's his son. It's something Kent.
It is Clark Kent.
No, his son. So Superman is the son of the original Superman.
Okay.
That's who's bisexual.
Okay.
Superman stayed straight, just so you guys know.
Okay. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I'm the
so
DC,
Superman
I'm the
had
DC
a gay
Marvel
son.
guy.
Yeah, he's a DC Marvel guy who actually read the story.
I want to know what's going on at the halls of justice, though. What do they think? Is Aquaman open to this? Is Wonder Woman open to this? Who's with Wonder Woman now? Is anybody?
Wonder Woman's older.
Yeah. Well, maybe she did she have a daughter?
Maybe.
She's now royal family.
Well, yeah, probably.
With the queen.
So I'm just curious.
This is what happens with DC. It never happened with Marvel.
I agree with you there. What I'm curious about is this. Dr. Rachel Levine, she's the Ash, the Assistant Secretary of Health of the United States. She calls herself the Ash.
Everybody's favorite Ash right there.
She is quite the Ash. She, of course, is all about putting transgenders into sports, men and boys, primarily in K-12, into women's sports as well as beyond. And she was all about that. She was questioned about this by ABC News. And this is directly related to this whole Superman thing because we know, podcast listeners, what's next, right? The next thing is transgender Superman. It's coming. We all know that. Well, we have a clip from Dr. Levine. We're going to talk about this in a minute and how it relates to Superman. We have the clip, and here it is.
What's your take on states trying to restrict transgender athletes from playing sports at high school and college levels?
I think that they're very challenging and unfortunate. I think that trans youth are very vulnerable. They have often faced significant bullying and harassment, and they need our support. They need to be nurtured, not to be limited from their activities such as sports.
Yeah, they should not be limited to activities such as sports. But the thing is Dr. Levine has later clarified that and said, well, what Dr. Levine really means is that boys should be able to participate in girls' sports, no matter what those sports are, and vice versa. But of course, it's very rare the other way around. It's usually boys, going and becoming a basketball star or becoming a track star. We mainly see the track star stuff, and it's becoming more and more common. And the thing is this is what the whole Superman is bisexual, Superman's son is bisexual thing is about, right? It's to go one step at a time to get to the point where you don't even recognize Superman anymore. It's no longer the Man of Steel. It's no longer the guy who people look up to with respect to all that is America, namely that, it represents a strong country and so forth. It's about just confusing the living out of people. Because remember, this is targeted towards whom? K to 12, children. Once again, sexualizing children to the full extent that the media and the mass media can possibly do. Gentlemen.
Creating confusion and chaos. And that's what their end goal is always going to be, to reform America and the people into what their image is. And they don't like independence. They don't like the individual. They want groupthink. And that's what they like, because that's how they control. And once again, it goes back to control. And, we have a massive youth suicide problem in this country, and we wonder why. And I know that people feel like right now, well, it's, things are tough out there. Yeah, of course. But this is still the easiest time in world history to be alive, not just in this country, but other places. It's not that other people don't have, but these kids have a suicide problem, and they have all of this at their fingertips, all of this access to whatever they need. And it's because of people like Dr. Levine who want to go in and just disrupt their mind and tell them what you think is normal. It's not normal. We're going to tell you what's normal. What's normal is Billy is now a girl or Jane is now a boy. Mm-hmm. And that screws with a youth's mind. And that's what they want.
And Brian, of course, just a few years ago, I would most certainly take my son at the age of 5 or 6 to see Superman. In fact, that was something that we would look forward to. Not now. Not now, because now, of course, it's the 5 or 6 year old. Can you imagine taking a 5 or 6 year old to see this?
Well, they're trying to normalize the abnormal, because Dr. Levine, she's not. That's just not normal. And the problem is when you're talking about like high school sports or youth sports and stuff like that, no one talks about like on a basketball team, the fifth girl that's now made to sit on the bench,
right? Because
the boy that's playing in that sport is better. And what about that? And this is a big deal for our society, because, the one thing I have definitely changed my opinion on in the last 20 years is extracurricular activity in the schools. I think it's completely like it's necessary. It should be a priority that we have that stuff. You look at society and how people, when I was growing up, very rarely did you have parents that were not, or friends that were not married. All your friends were married. Now,
you mean your friends' parents were married?
Your friends' parents were married,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now you have like single family households, and people are missing those father figures, there's mother figures that a lot of time a coach feels that role
right
in, and that with the social media and stuff, these kids don't really have real friends anymore. You spoke to the suicide. They have digital friends.
Right.
And extracurricular activities is one way they have friends, and we should be getting them involved. And I think this is really to the detriment to everyone.
I agree. And I also think that with the Superman thing and the other stuff that we've talked about during this podcast, another podcast as well, is that I actually believe this. I actually believe the left is trying to normalize sex between adults and children. I literally think that that's where they're heading with all this, because otherwise, why would they be doing this? Why would they be pushing this information to children and taking what otherwise Superman is a really clean program that has nothing to do with sex whatsoever, other than, the infatuation kind of thing. It's kind of a side picture of that. But instead, they're trying to make something that's wholesome into something that's complete. I've thought this for a while, because why else would we be teaching the crap that we're teaching in public schools with respect to this? That's its purpose.
And I'm sure both of you get this question, and it's a small subsect, but it goes nationwide. The question I get a lot is, what's the biggest problem in Baltimore City? And my answer is always the same. It is the destruction of the family unit. Because what they did is went in and destroyed the family unit. And with these kind of things with the Superman, it's to say you don't really need a husband and wife. You don't need to procreate. We're going to create your own little world out there. And to Matt's point, kids are looking for a mentor. They follow. They look for. And the problem in Baltimore City is it becomes the gangs. And that's why
that becomes their father figure.
That's right. Instead of a coach. And God bless some of those coaches that come out of Baltimore City and take the youth and know how important it is because they've probably been through the same thing. Absolutely. But the problem right now is they don't. They're going into the gangs, and that goes nationwide when they think that two mommies can make a baby, and they get confused. You can't.
Well, that's called reproductive justice.
Right.
That's what that's called. That's the Democrats call it reproductive justice, that men can be pregnant and that two women can somehow manage to get pregnant as they in a natural way, of course, and they're trying to say the same thing, that a man can get pregnant, of course. But this is obviously, it's none of it's science-based, of course, but that's the whole point of this.